So there was those 4 issues really for me, and I think those led up to what ended up being my, some people would call it doomsday. For me, it was my catalyst, the day where my life changed forever. Yeah, so I don't know the exact date, but I think it was in February last year. I was standing in the kitchen and I stopped feeling the blouse on my back. So I was wearing a blouse and I basically couldn't feel it. It was really weird. Obviously I could feel it, but it felt less somehow. It was tingly, it was weird. And I don't know the exact time frame per se, but it progressed further and it went down to my feet and my butt and my legs. One foot, I think it was my left foot more than my right, but it was, it was both feet. It went up in my, back of my arms, my hands. Once again, I don't think it was both of my hands. I think it was my left, but I'm not sure. And then the back of my neck, the back of my head, and my ears. It was like the first step of me realizing something was wrong. But I was I Googled it and it was like, either you have MS or you have a vitamin B12 deficiency. And obviously you want to believe the best. So I was like, Nick, bring me home some vitamin B12. And I think it was the next day I got flu symptoms. And so I was like, oh, that's it. There was just probably some weird chemical imbalance in my body, and I was fine. I was fine, I'm okay. That sort of attitude, basically. But yeah, but the thing is, the flu symptoms, like fever and all that jazz, that only stayed, I think, not even a day. And then it turned into me having vertigo. So I started getting dizzy, walking up and down the stairs, and then that would develop into not being able to stand up without being really dizzy, and then I couldn't stand up without throwing up. And I think I even went down and was gonna empty the dishwasher because I want to get off my lazy butt and go do something super silly, but whatever. And yeah, and when I did, I threw up. Just, that was I just remember that very clearly. That's one of the few memories I think I remember from it. But it just continued to progress. It went from that, and then I couldn't sit up without throwing up, and then I couldn't, eventually I literally could not turn around in bed. I was lying on my back, and if I wanted to turn to one side, I would throw up, or, whatever. And it was getting so bad. I couldn't keep anything down. I was dehydrated. And one night I was basically not even lucid anymore. And my husband was like, I'm gonna call for an ambulance. We didn't have a car at the time, otherwise he'd take me in himself. But we didn't have a car at the time. And yeah, so he's like, I'm calling an ambulance. You need to go in. And the responder, or the person that we called was like, no, she has the flu, and I'm like, I don't have the flu. It's not the flu. This is not the flu. And but finally he's like, okay, we'll send one out. I came in and they put me in the ear and infections department. Obviously because it had something to do with vertigo, or sort of, a balance issue. They're like, oh, well, it has to do with the ears. Since that's where that kind of, sits. And so they cleaned out my ears, and that is something I'm not going to go into detail because it was disgusting. It was absolutely gross. They cleaned out my ears, and once they had done that, they did these tests to determine throwing my head back and forth and leaning back and then sitting straight up, and they immediately said, nope, it's not the ears. The next step was, right, well, let's take an MRI. So they did. And anyone who has MS will know what they found. They found lesions on my brain. Specifically one very active one. They said it was right. And it was right underneath my cerebellum, which is where your balance is controlled. So balance and vertigo and all that. So specifically there, but obviously there were obviously sensory kind of issues as well that was affected. We also found some a number of dormant lesions that basically indicate that I've had lesions before, and that, you know, it's progressed basically. So yeah, I've now that I think of it, you know, I look back on my life before that, and I have had weird symptoms before, but like, you don't, you know, it's things that you don't really think about. The head doctor of the ear and infections department, he like, super cool guy. He was, if he ever, like, he's never gonna see this, but if he ever did, I just want to thank him, because he did something that, like, for me was, I think helped me a lot, and that was, he was not technically the one that was supposed to break me the news, but he came in with a nurse, and he's like, look, I don't know if I'm doing the right thing, you might not, you know, you might like explode over this or whatever, and maybe it's best that I wait till the neurologist comes, but here it is. I saw the images, and I've seen lesions consistent with multiple sclerosis. And the thing is, like, you can imagine the wave of emotions that, like, went through me, and it was huge. It was like, you know, crazy. But the MRI was done the day before, and that night I barely slept at all. There was thought after thought that went through my head, what it could be. You know, was there this huge tumor in my brain? Was it inoperable? You know, like, I had imagined, you know, 50 steps down the line, how, you know, my children would have to grow up without a mom. You know, I mean, this was certainly an anxiety episode, or whatever you can call it. And yeah, so the thing is, when he told me this, of course, it was not fun news, but at the same time, it was a lot better than I thought it was gonna be. It just felt like, this is okay. Straight away, I was like, I can live with this, I can handle this. I didn't know whether I was gonna get, like, these symptoms that I had, you know, at the time, but they were gonna go away. Obviously, I knew nothing at this time, but I knew I was gonna live. I knew I would be able to be there for my kids, even if it's just emotionally or whatever. Like, I would be able to be there. As a whole, it was not all negative. I was able to call my family and speak to them and tell them about it, and I was able to process. I was able to grieve as well, even though obviously, like I said, it wasn't all negative. I was able to grieve. I was able to feel awful about what you know, this news that I've gotten. But I was the main thing, I think, was that I was able to think of different questions that I was then going to ask the neurologist that was going to come down an hour later and talk to me, and he was actually going to give me the news officially. So, like, I had all these questions for him. You know, will I be in a wheelchair? The news spread quite quickly. And my sister-in-law, if she's watching this, she's gonna laugh now, but she is known for a lot of things. Like, she has a lot of amazing qualities. So one of them is her ability to do research. She does research like nobody's business. If she goes traveling, she knows all the places to go. She immediately went online and started researching different ways of helping an MS patient cope with the symptoms, or stop the progression of the disease, and so on, but through natural means. And I've always been very skeptical of natural medicine and things like that. So, but I think at this point, I was open to anything. Obviously, I wanted to know as much as possible about this disease. And I was willing to do anything, really. And so I was open for it. I had not been before. I've heard about different, you know, natural remedies for this or that, and I'm like, oh, whatever, you know. But I wasn't this time. This time I thought this might work.
But
this video is more about, just like I said, my diagnosis and what kind of led up to my diagnosis. And then in my next video, I'm going to cover a little bit more about my actual healing journey and what has kind of gotten me to the point where I am at today. I really hope that this has helped someone, or that if this hasn't, then I hope that my next video will. Any comments that you want to, like, if there's any other videos you want me to make about any other topics or any other parts of my diagnosis or my journey, then just let me know and I will tell you more about it. I hope that this has helped someone, and yeah.